Good evening. It's now 7:15, so I'm going to begin our presentation on Introduction to Electroneurodiagnostic Technology. Often the first question that people ask are, what do neurodiagnostic technologists do? We analyze and monitor the nervous system functions to promote the effective treatment of neurological diseases and conditions. And so that means we're looking at your brain, your spinal cord, and your peripheral nervous system. The thing that most people are most familiar with is EEG. They often see this on TV shows, medical TV shows with the electrodes all over the head. So that's what usually people are most comfortable with. And we'll talk about that one first. Electroencephalogram is what EEG stands for, and that's looking at the electrical activity of the brain. Most often used to diagnose epilepsy, but we also use it for other issues such as head traumas or infectious diseases that are affecting their neurological system. We have tiny little electrodes that we place all over the patient's scalp, and that records the electrical activity of the brain, similar to how the EKG records the electrical activity of the heart. And here's a picture that tells you a little bit of, you can see a little bit of what they're doing here. They're applying those electrodes, and then they'll be recording her electrical activity from her brain and creating the EEG. Long-term monitoring is another one of the tests that we do in neurodiagnostic technology. This is the recording EEG at the same time you're recording the behavior the patient's doing at the same time. So that gives you a better idea of what's going on if they're having seizures or if they're having some strange behaviors. That helps you figure out exactly what's going on. More often used with unexplained comas and epilepsy where they're trying to get it under control and things like that. These can be performed in the intensive care unit, the ICU, or they can also be done in the epilepsy monitoring units, which is the EMU, which is a specialized unit that is just for patients with epilepsy when we're trying to understand what's going on with their seizures. And this picture here is an example of an epilepsy monitoring unit. You can see all the screens that have the dark squiggly lines on them. Those are all different patients with different EEGs. And then the center picture there, she has a center screen. She has the video of all those patients. And so she's watching all those patients to make sure that they are not having seizures, that they're staying safe. If they do have seizure, she is able to get them help right away and identify what type of seizures they're having. Evoked Potentials are actually, instead of just passively recording what the nervous system is putting out, this is where we're actually doing something to your nervous system and seeing how it responds. So this can be stimulating your visual system by having you look at a checkerboard that changes the pattern. We could be looking at your auditory system by having you listen to different clicks, or this can be looking at your somatosensory system, which is how you feel and touch and pain, by stimulating at your wrists and ankles and seeing how your body responds to those. This is used for a variety of different neurological problems, spinal cord injuries, scoliosis, vision changes, all sorts of things like that can be done in the clinical setting or in the operating room to make sure that your nervous system is intact. And here's an example of a young girl getting a visual evoked potential. You can see she's staring at the checkerboard screen in front of her. She has electrodes on her head again, and those checkerboard will switch back and forth and it'll stimulate her visual system, and we will see that whole pathway from front to back. Make sure everything is working correctly. Intraoperative neuromonitoring is doing everything that we've talked about so far and doing it in the operating room during surgery. So if you're in the operating room for scoliosis surgery or a vascular surgery, or if you have a brain tumor, or if you have an aneurysm, all those types of surgeries are ones where we would be there with you, protecting your nervous system while they're operating on it, right? We want to make sure that you come out of the surgery as good as you went in, if not better, right? So this is a situation where we would be in with the surgeon. We wouldn't be right at the bedside in surgery. We'd be off to the corner, but all our machines would be attached to you, and we would be monitoring everything to make sure that it stays intact. Kind of like an early warning system for the nervous system, if you will. And this is kind of what this looks like. So this technologist is over in the corner. You can see the blue in the upper right-hand corner of the picture. That's where the patient is over there. You can see a C-arm. That's a little imaging there as well. We're in the OR, gowned up just the same as everybody else, and we're monitoring that patient's nervous system while they're having surgery performed on them. Nerve conduction studies and EMG is looking more at the peripheral nervous system. So stimulating and recording from the peripheral nervous system and looking how that responds to our stimulation. Most often done for carpal tunnel, peripheral neuropathy. If you have a family member with severe diabetes and they can no longer feel the bottom of their foot, that would be a peripheral neuropathy. And that's something that we would test with nerve conduction and EMG. But it can be done for numbness, tingling, muscle weakness, cramping, abnormal movements, all sorts of things like that can be tested with nerve conduction studies and EMG. And that's what this looks like here. This young lady is stimulating the patient at the wrist and looking to see how that those peripheral nerves are responding to the stimulation. So probably making sure he doesn't have carpal tunnel, or deciding how bad his carpal tunnel is if he does have it. Polysomnogram and sleep, PSG, this is the sleep study. So if you have a family member who has very loud snoring or stops breathing at night, maybe needs a CPAP machine, doing a sleep study is how you would be fitted for that CPAP machine, and make sure that we can work on your loud snoring. Also, if you're having trouble staying awake during the day, or if you fall asleep at inappropriate times, if you're in class and you're falling asleep when you shouldn't be, right? That indicates a sleep problem, and we would be diagnosed with a sleep study. You also can have a sleep study if you have insomnia, so you can't fall asleep, right? All of those dysfunctions of your sleep-wake cycle are things that we can look at with a sleep study and diagnose that, and make sure that if you do have a breathing disorder during sleep, we can get you the right CPAP machine and the right titrations to cure that. And this is what a sleep study looks like. The patient is in another room. We don't stare at you while you're sleeping, but you can see the information up on the screen. That's the patient's sleep study coming across. We look at the EEG portion of it. We look at their snoring, at their respirations, at their EKG, their eye movements, all sorts of things like that, to look at their sleep and make sure that they're getting enough sleep, or if they're not, why they're not getting that sleep. Neurodiagnostic technologists will work primarily in hospitals, either in the neurodiagnostic lab itself, in intensive care units, in the operating room, but we can also work in outpatient clinics, such as Raleigh Neurology, or we could work in individual neurologist offices. If you don't want to work directly with patients, you can be working in a research laboratory, or you could even do sales with equipment vendors. The Department of Labor lists neurodiagnostic technology as a bright outlook occupation, which means we have a higher than expected growth the next several years. Our average annual salary for a new graduate from a neurodiagnostic program in this region, the starting salary is $47,000 a year, which is pretty good for starting out with a 2-year degree. The top in this region is $93,900, so a pretty good range of salaries in this area. If you look at the entire country, all types of neurodiagnostic technologists, beginners and long experienced technologists, the average across the country is $69,000. So a really good salary for a 2-year degree. If you're interested in neurodiagnostics after listening to my presentation, I encourage you to look into our neurodiagnostic program. We started with our first class in the fall of 2020. It's a 5-semester program, including the summer. When you graduate from the program after the second spring semester, you are prepared to take either your EEG or your Evoked Potential boards. And once you have completed appropriate caseloads, you can take the higher level boards of the CNM and the CLTM. If you are good in science and math, English and communications, you would love neurodiagnostics. This is definitely a field for people who love to solve problems, figure out puzzles, and study patterns. If you enjoy that, you will definitely enjoy this field. You are part of a team of professionals. We work with the neurologists, the neurosurgeons, we work with orthopedic surgeons, we work with obviously the nurses and radiology and pharmacy, all together working to take care of the patient. And this is a really dynamic profession for new graduates. I encourage you to become part of the growing field that tests the central, peripheral, and autonomic nervous system. It is the only system in the body that it cannot be replaced, substituted, or transplanted. And it's a fascinating and growing field. My website is listed there, edt.waketech.edu. If you have any further questions about the program, I can take questions now. Natalie, can you tell me what the questions are? I can't see them.
So far, nobody has submitted one, so but I am monitoring the chat.
Okay. It looks like I have 3 published questions. Are those something else?
I was making some announcements to everybody.
Okay, sounds good.
How about you tell us about the program?
Oh, someone has just asked, is there a wait list to get in the program? Not currently. Since it's a brand new program, we do not have a wait list yet. We do have several slots for this coming fall still available. I can take a maximum of 15 students, and I believe we have 4 slots still available. So if you are interested in the program, I encourage you to apply. Our advisor in student services is Devin Cummings. You can either reach out to him in student services, or you can reach out to me, Rebecca Rendall, and I would be happy to answer any questions anybody has about the program. We have 4 clinical sites currently. We're going to hopefully add a 5th. Right now, our clinical sites are the entire Duke Health System. They have a number of locations within the health system that you can work at. The UNC Health System, again, they have several locations. Wake Med and Raleigh Neurology are the last 2, and we're hoping to bring Rex into the fold very quickly. So someone else has asked if they've been accepted to Wake Tech, do you have to do a separate application for the program? Yes, you do. It is a very short application. The requisites for the prerequisites for the program are before you apply, you just need to, obviously have applied to Wake Tech and been accepted. You need to have taken biology in the last 5 years. So if you took biology in high school, that will count. If you haven't taken biology in the last 5 years, then you would want to, take one of the introductory biology courses. It could even be Bio 168, 169, which are required. So if you took that before you applied for the program, that would satisfy that biology requirement. You need to take English and math, but as long as you've taken that in high school, you've got that covered. Any other questions? Caitlin, you've asked some great questions tonight. I really appreciate them. If you want to reach out to me, it's just Rebecca, it's RL Rendall at waketech.edu. Feel free to reach out and ask questions. You can reach me through the website as well. We have a pretty decent website out there that explains a lot about the information that you'll need to know. You can reach out to Devin. Any of those will be great to talk to. But please reach out and let me know if you have any other questions. Anything else tonight? Anybody else have a question? How many clinical days per week? Good question, Caitlin. So clinicals are not until the end. That's the last semester, and that last semester you are in clinical 4 days a week, 8 hours, 4 days a week. All your clinicals all in that last semester. So it is pretty intensive clinical, but I think it works well because then you really get to experience everything and have a lot of hands-on time with it. Someone has asked for my contact information, so let me give that.
I can do that. I've posted it, but I will make sure that we have it all in there.
Yes, thank you. Any other questions tonight? Anything else I can answer for you?
Got one more from Caitlin.
We do.
It says, how do I fill out the application for the?
Oh, okay, I didn't see the question. So if you go onto our website, edt.waketech.edu, the application is there. You can fill it out there. If you're having issues with it, reach out to Devin. I think you can walk in and fill out an application too if you prefer to do it in person. There are people at Student Services, and you can also reach out to Student Services online as well. But yeah, it's just fill out the application on the website.
And remind us, do classes start in the summer or the fall?
Classes start in the fall. We only take once a year in the fall. So you have fall, spring, summer, fall, spring, and then graduation.
So fall applications for fall are being accepted right now. You can actually go to apply.waketech.edu to get your WakeTech application process started. And you'll be able to start selecting classes for the fall in just a couple of months. I want to say all classes open up in late April, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe you're correct. Anything else tonight? Any other questions?
Is this a good career field for somebody who is maybe interested in changing careers?
It is. I would say that, you need to have an interest in, obviously a strong interest in healthcare and taking care of people. And, it can be somewhat physically challenging, because you have to, all of healthcare really is physically challenging, really. And on the website are the technical requirements for this field. I believe they're listed for all the different fields, but you can get a pretty good idea of what you need to be able to do to do this field, looking at those technical requirements. They are listed on my website and give you a pretty good idea. But yeah, it's a pretty good field to switch into if you're interested in changing careers. All right, I would say if there's no other questions tonight, I will let you guys go, let you enjoy your evening. again, please reach out, and if you have any further questions, I know sometimes people don't like to ask them on a live. I totally get that. But please reach out and let me know if you have any questions. Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.